Hello, you fellow musicians and gamers out there, this is Clarinetgamer here, and I am here with another review. Yes, it has been a long time since I've done a review, but I am here with a review that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I am finally now getting round to it. So without further ado, I am going to be reviewing the Crash Bandicoot Sane Trilogy. And this is basically the remastered compilation of the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games on the PS1, and I do have quite a lot to say about it, both positive and negative, so without further ado, I'm going to delve into Crash Bandicoot 1. So to start off with, as a general criticism for all 3 games, just to get this out of the way, the loading screens are too long in my opinion. Now, what they could have maybe done to fix this was perhaps maybe gone down the same way Naughty Dog did, like with their games, like maybe just shorten the loading times, but then again though there's quite a lot of data to load on the loading screens, but that's something Vicarious Visions could have maybe looked into to fix. And I will say as well, as a digression point on my part, I could have maybe perhaps edited out the loading screens in my Let's Play of the Sane Trilogy, but I digress. But the loading screens are a bit too long for my taste across all 3 games. So continuing on with Crash Bandicoot 1 and what I think could have been improved. Some of the music doesn't really fit certain levels, for example Slippery Climb and Stormy Ascent. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, what do you mean it doesn't fit that? It's got the right perfect tone of creepiness. While I understand that, yes, I do agree with that, I personally think that the remix that they did here for giving it a beat takes away the complete intensity of the theme that I had from the original from my point of view. I still like the original theme a lot better than the remastered version of this. I think it was only that one that I had a bit of a major problem with when it came to the music. Besides that, everything else is fine, but I'll get onto that later on. But the third negative point I wanted to talk about in Crash Bandicoot 1 was that the hit detection can be off sometimes. And some examples of this are one of the natives in Native Fortress. For example, when you reach the 2nd floor in Native Fortress, when you jump on one of the, or maybe the first enemy you see with one of the natives with the shield, sometimes when I jump on top of it, it registers me as hitting the shield and bouncing me back, and I've died a fair few times to that. You probably might have noticed that from the Let's Plays, but sometimes when replaying it off screen myself sometimes, that's happened quite a bit, so that's a bit of a glitch that they should have fixed from my point of view back a while ago. And the tortoises on the high road. Now the high road is one of those levels where you're thinking, oh yeah, here we go, yeah, he's going to complain about this a lot, he's going to slander this an awful lot because he couldn't quite make the jumps. There's nothing to do with that whatsoever, but I'll get onto that later. But the tortoises on the high road. Now I will say, sometimes when you try and jump on the middle of the tortoises, sometimes you end up slipping off and falling, and I'm not entirely sure why that happens. So again, the hit detection is not perfect there when it comes to hitting the tortoise, like exactly dead straight on. Sometimes you have to jump a little bit earlier than usual to try and hit the tortoises on the high road. And last and certainly not least, the last obstacle on Hogwild. Now I know a lot of you might be thinking, wait, how can that be a hit detection issue? Well, it's technically not, but I might as well talk about this as a negative point. Because even though I know when to jump over the hog, sometimes I still can't figure out exactly when to jump over it, because, you know, it's down to luck in my opinion. You see, like, I even used the same jumping method as I used from the original, and that still didn't work. So I tried jumping over it from the left, or even jumping over it early, and sometimes it's unpredictable of when exactly you're going to jump over the hog. So that was a bit of an issue there on their part. Well, I mean, in my personal opinion at the very least, that they could have fixed up. Anyway, all negatives aside, now let's talk about the positives, what I liked about Crash 1, and I got quite a lot to say about this. The graphics in this remaster are excellent, they really are. For something that, like that Vicarious Visions stated themselves, they took the geometry of the levels and they basically just fixed everything up. It looks absolutely amazing. With no doubt in my mind, on the PS4 Pro I'd imagine it would look even better. Well, except I played mine on normal PlayStation 4, I never played it on the Pro, but I digress. The graphics are amazing. The platforming, in my opinion, is very solid, it's very good. Now, some of you might be thinking already, okay, right, wait, no, he's wrong about that, the platforming isn't solid. Well, hear me out on this. The first time that I played the Sane Trilogy, I thought the platforming wasn't that good at all. But when I played it for the second time, I didn't die nearly as many times as I did on certain levels. For example, on the high road, as a certain example, it took me, I think in the Let's Play, about 45 minutes or something to get through it. And the second time I played it only took me like 10-15 minutes to get through it. So I have improved on it. So that was basically me just sucking at the level, so it's nothing to do with the game, it's to do with me as a whole. The platforming is definitely very solid. when it comes to this game. It really is. It's just a matter of just getting used to the controls, and I think I have gotten used to the controls. And I think the platforming does work very well for these levels. It's all just a matter of, like, you know, transitioning from the original gameplay mechanics on the PS1 over to the PS4. But as I said before, I think the platforming is very solid for that reason. Once you get more practice on it, if you play it for a second time, then you'll understand what I mean by the platforming being very good. The music. And the music is just as good as the original, if not better. For example, one of the tracks that I like even better than the original, from my point of view, is Toxic Waste soundtrack. I like the Toxic Waste theme that they used for this, especially the rock vibe that comes with it. Especially like the amount of intensity that comes behind the theme, because as you're going up and up through the levels and stages, sort of like Donkey Kong with the battles and everything like that. And the majority of the music is just as good as the original as well. I mean, there's certain tracks that I quite like. For example, Hog Wild. I mean, it has the cartoonish sound effects, which is very appropriate because, I mean, Crash Bandicoot is, you know, a kids game. It has like the cartoonish sound effects, so I mean, I quite like that little touch that they added in there for the Hog Wild theme. The Temple Ruins theme is amazing as well. It's very atmospheric, as well as the Lights Out theme. The Esani Beach theme, just like the Crash Bandicoot 1 main theme, amazing. I like the baritone saxophone that they added on into the track as well. It's amazing if you ask me. Moving on to another positive point, the bonus rounds. Two things to say about the bonus rounds. Now, the bonus rounds in the original games, or in the original game should I say, it was normally used as a save system. And if you failed at the bonus round in the original game, you could no longer save your game at that point. However, in the remaster, the bonus rounds are no longer used as a save system, and you can visit it an endless amount of times after completing the game for more practice, which definitely gives them replayable value from my point of view. And the second thing that's good about these bonus rounds in the remaster is that the bonus rounds are now used to collect all the boxes related to the levels, which gives them a very unique and difficult challenge from my point of view. For example, the Lost City, one of the bonus rounds on the Torno bonus round specifically, that was quite difficult when it came to getting the box gem on that one, because it took me some practice to actually get that down, but eventually I did manage, to actually overcome that challenge. I never got all the Wumper Fruit successfully, but kudos to those who actually did get all the Wumper Fruit. I salute you for that. Well done on getting all the Wumper Fruit on that bonus round. But it definitely gives them a unique challenge, as I said. And the final point to say about this is the time trials. Now, what I like about the time trials is that it definitely gives the levels more replayable value as well, just like the bonus rounds. And the developers definitely gave gamers a generous amount of time to beat these levels, because obviously you don't have these special power-ups yet until Crash Bandicoot 2, or the special abilities like the slide jump and everything like that until Crash Bandicoot 2. So I think from my point of view, the time trials overall were actually pretty good in this. And I did get better at it. It's just a matter of like depending on how long you jump over the pits and everything, like short jumps definitely help out. If you do long jumps, it'll most likely delay you from getting a platinum relic depending on which levels you're playing in. But very good, I must say. So overall for Crash Bandicoot 1, there's definitely a lot of positive points over the negative ones. So my final score for the Crash Bandicoot 1 remaster is 8 out of 10. It's a really good remaster, but there could have been some maybe tweaks here and there to fix up some hit detections and everything like that, and it could have maybe gotten like maybe an 8.5 or 9 out of 10 in my book. But from my point of view, the final score for Crash Bandicoot 1 is 8 out of 10. So, moving on to Crash Bandicoot 2's remaster. Now, I was looking forward to playing this game an awful lot, because Crash Bandicoot 2, as I said before, was my favourite game in the original trilogy, so I was really looking forward to seeing how they would do with this, see if they could maybe make it better than the original. Now, as I said before, the loading screens are a bit too long, and I've got that out of the way, so that's fine. So, continuing on with more improvements that they could have done to the game. The ice physics are a bit off sometimes. For example, when you're running in the snow levels, and you go onto ice, your momentum stops completely, which doesn't make that much sense to me, because in reality, if you were running in a snow level, or in snow, and you had a bit of ice in front of you, and you ran right across the ice, then you would surely be able to go faster, because the ice will definitely keep you carrying forward. But in the remaster, for some reason in the remaster, the ice completely slows you down, and I don't know why that is. So that was a bit of a negative thing to say about that. I did get used to it very quickly, but it could have just been a little bit more realistic from my point of view. And when it came to the ice physics in Crash Bandicoot 2. Hit detection, yet again, is something I got to talk about for Crash Bandicoot 2, because I feel that the hit detection sometimes was a little bit off in certain areas. For example, in the Ruin levels, specifically Road to Ruin or Ruination, well yes, those are only 2 Ruin levels, but anyway, the flames, whenever you get hit by them, like, somehow for some reason you end up getting hit by the flames sometimes just a split second before the flames appear from the statues, and just when the fire's about to go out, when you go by it, you don't get hit by it, which I think is kind of weird. So, yet again, this relates back to Crash 1, they could have maybe spent a bit more time correcting the hit detection physics on certain enemies and hazards. And another negative point to say about Crash Bandicoot 2 is that certain instruments go off sync with the music. For example, in the Dig in the bonus round, when you heard the glockenspiel, the xylophone, go off sync with the rest of the instruments, I thought to myself, that's a bit of a problem in my opinion. I mean, I think I even said in the commentary from my Let's Play, is it just me or is the music a little bit off sync? And it was. The music is definitely off sync, which I thought to myself, that's really not that good that it's off sync like that. So that's just another bit of a negative point to say about that. Anyway, moving on to the more positive note, what I liked about Crash Bandicoot 2, the platforming is very good. However, and now this may be a little bit of a personal opinion I have on this, but the jumping isn't as effective with the slide jumps being used a lot more often, even with the crash dash move that you get towards the end when you beat Cortex. Now, I will say this much, to talk something positive about this, to cancel out that negative what I just said, the slide jumps are used a lot more often, which is a good thing, because I remember in the original Crash Bandicoot 2, jumping over the pits wasn't that difficult, like, you know, with just a normal jump. But in the remaster, I don't know if it was their intention for the players to use the slide jump a lot more often. If that's the case, they have done very well. They've definitely accomplished that from my point of view. But if that wasn't the case, then they could have perhaps maybe made the jumping a little bit longer from my point of view when it came to the jumping mechanics in this. Well, the jumping mechanics are the same throughout all 3 games, but they could have maybe made the holes maybe a little bit shorter just to compensate for the jumping, if that was the case. But I'm willing to bet that they were wanting to just use the slide jumps for the Crash Bandicoot 2 on this occasion here. Anyway, moving on, the music is very effective, especially the rocket levels. The rocket levels sound exactly like the pre-console theme as well, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, the themes that they have here in Crash Bandicoot 2 are just amazing. They're absolutely amazing. There's nothing really negative I have to say about the music in Crash Bandicoot 2. They're all fantastic themes from my point of view. There's really nothing much else that you can change with the music on this. That's just my personal opinion. And the graphics, again, are amazing as always, and that's pretty much all I can say about that as well. And another positive thing to add to this, the Crash Dash move was a good surprise, and it definitely came in handy for the time trials in Crash Bandicoot 2 as well. To talk about the time trials in Crash 2, the Crash Dash move, as I just said, is very effective for this, but not as effective enough because the Crash Dash isn't very fast, so you still have to use the slide jump to get a really good time on the time trials in these levels. So the Crash Dash could have just been a little bit faster from my point of view. So that's my final thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 2. So my final score for this is 7 out of 10. Now, the remastered version of Crash 2 is good, but I had the feeling it was not going to be as good as the original. I mean, there's no way it could have beat the original in my book, because the original definitely is up there with one of my favourite PlayStation 1 games of all time. So, my final score for that would be a generous 7 out of 10 for that one. Moving on now, last and certainly not least, Crash Bandicoot 3. And let's talk about the improvements once again. Loading screens, yet again, could have just been improved a little bit. But to add as a side note to this, at least the loading screens are not as long as the Wrath of Cortex. Oh boy, do you remember those days, about the Wrath of Cortex having long loading screens. How it took like a minute and a half for the level to load. That's nowhere near as long as the loading screens were at that point. I remember those days when you actually loaded the Wrath of Cortex and then you had to wait for like a minute and a half or something for the level to load. But at least they're not as bad as Wrath of Cortex, that's all I can say. But anyway, moving on. The jet ski controls. I have to say, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but the jet ski controls are a little bit off on this because the steering's a bit peculiar. No matter how fast or slow you're going, it seems that the steering's a little bit off when it comes to the jet ski controls. Now, originally I did use the directional button, so I thought to myself, why not use the analog stick and see if it improves? It hasn't really improved that much when it comes to using the analog stick. It's sort of the same. So I think they could have maybe spent a bit more time refining the steering on the jet ski controls. I've no problems with the acceleration, it is what it is, but the steering could have just been a little bit improved from my point of view. To maybe make it a bit tighter. It's just that I felt the steering was just a little bit loose on occasions from my point of view. I mean, I don't know if any of you feel the same way, but that's how I felt when I was playing it. And the motorbike controls are still quite stiff. Although then again, I'm not surprised, because I mean that the motorbike controls were very stiff in the original game as well. So they probably just followed through from the elements of the original Crash 3 game. So that's what they probably did there. And also, as another point as well to this where they could have improved, there's missing dialogue. How could you miss out dialogue? For example, Dingodel's missing dialogue here. You thrashed me, mate. No worries, but you'll soon be up against much worse. That was the best impression I could do of Dingodile right there, but he never said that in the remaster. How could you leave that out? That's a travesty that they've left that out there. And Engine, I believe, with the not again. I don't think he said that when you defeated him in the Crash Bandicoot 3 boss. I don't think he said that, as far as I can remember. So they missed out some dialogue, which is a bit of a shame from my point of view, but then again though, maybe if they do other remasters, perhaps they'll maybe take this on board to not miss out any dialogue this time around. So anyway, moving on to the pros for Crash Bandicoot 3. Graphics are amazing, like always, just like the other two games. The platforming is very good, along with the underwater levels. Platforming is just exactly the same from my point of view as the original Crash 3. I mean, there's nothing really much different about it. And the underwater levels are amazing when it comes to the platforming. It's very smooth controls from my point of view. Like, I remember in the original Crash 3, the controls were a little bit stiff for Crash in the underwater levels in the original game. This one, the controls are a little bit more fluent, or a little bit more smooth, compared to the original, from my point of view. So I must say the underwater levels are pretty good as well, in particular. Music is effective, very ambient, especially when it comes to the different eras. For example, the underwater levels, again referring back to those, and the Desert Town levels as well. I like the little musical intellect, not intellect, what am I saying? Musical dialogue that it has in the middle of it, which is pretty amazing. I've actually listened to be honest with you, I've actually listened to some mashups of these themes, and with the original, and they are just godlike. They really are. Like, if you put both of them together, they're both great. And if you put them both together, it's eargasm. That's really what it is, it's eargasm. That's what I like to call it. The fourth point I like to make, which I quite like, is the Wumpa Bazooka is very realistic. Now, I know what a lot of you might be thinking, wait, how can it be realistic if it doesn't explode or anything like that? Now, one thing I will say is that the Wumpa Bazooka definitely spits out the Wumpa Juice in front of all the enemies, which is amazing from my point of view. That's something that they should have done on that. Like, what they should have done from my point of view is, like, to make it even better, like, what they did here was good, and what they could have done to maybe make it better was give you different options. For example, not only would you have, like, you know, the Wumpa fruit, like, you know, like, explode at the enemy with the juice, you could have it like as some sort of magnet clamp, especially on the metal type enemies. You could switch it to like a metallic Wumpa fruit, and you could shoot it at the enemy, and then you could trigger on when it will explode. The longer you wait, the bigger the explosion is, and the more it would take out more enemies. Maybe they might think of that for an original game in the Crash series. That's just something that they could have maybe done to maybe make the Wumpa Bazooka a little bit more better from my point of view. And the time trials in the Crash Bandicoot 3 are mostly good. There's one time trial that I will still never get out of my head, which was High Time. That time trial was something else, I can tell you that. They could have maybe been a little bit more generous with the spaces of time you would get for each relic. For example, if I remember correctly, the Sapphire relic was 2 minutes 12 seconds, Gold was like 1 minute 4 seconds, and Platinum was 57 seconds, which I thought that's way too much of a gap between Sapphire and Gold. They could have maybe extended it or made that a little bit easier from my point of view. But as I said before, the time trials are mostly good. I think that one level just completely ruined it from being completely good from my point of view. So overall, from my point of view, Crash Bandicoot 3's remaster deserves a 7 out of 10, just like Crash Bandicoot 2. It's good, but it could have been better with certain controls, for example the jet ski controls and the motorbike controls as well. And the missing dialogue. If they added in the missing dialogue for those 2 occasions with Dingo Dial and Engine, maybe the score would have upped a little bit to 7.5 or maybe 8 out of 10 arguably, if that was the case. So overall, my score for the Sane Trilogy, based on the score that I've given these 3 games for Crashes 1, 2 and 3, is 7.5 out of 10. It's a good, really good compilation of remasters. I think they've done very well on this Vicarious Visions, and I look forward to seeing what they continue to do next. Hopefully, perhaps, if the rumours are true, then it could be a new Crash Bandicoot game for next year, but also look out for the Sane Trilogy coming out on other consoles like Xbox One, Nintendo Switch and the PC at the end of June. So if you're looking forward to this, if you're watching this video and you haven't played Sane Trilogy yet, but you have played the originals before on the PS1, I definitely recommend this if you're a huge fan of the Crash Bandicoot games. I still had a blast of a time playing these games, but as I said before, even though it's 7.5 out of 10, I still thoroughly recommend it to anybody who is a big fan of platforming games, is looking forward to going down memory lane once again with the Crash Bandicoot games. So if you're a huge Crash Bandicoot fan before, I would recommend these games, without a doubt. So that's my review, guys, of the Sane Trilogy. If you have anything you'd like to say about the Sane Trilogy in the comments down below, please feel free to voice your opinions on the game, or the compilation, should I say. If you agree with anything that I've had to say, feel free to elaborate on anything that I've said, or if you disagree with anything that I said, by all means feel free to voice your opinions in the comment section down below, because I look forward to seeing what you think of the game as a whole, from your point of view. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like this if you enjoyed it. Comment down below as well for your thoughts on the game and the video as a whole. And if you want to see more videos coming up on my channel, especially if you want to see any more reviews coming up, then please feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. Support is always appreciated. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you all have a great day wherever you are, and I shall speak to you later when I come back with Crash of the Titans. I shall be continuing my Let's Play of Crash of the Titans at some point soon. Till then, guys, hope you have a great day wherever you are, and I shall speak to you later. Till then, goodbye.